Our top story on 9 News at 4, crisis in Afghanistan today, where thousands of people are trying to escape Taliban rule. The U.S. military says they've secured the airport and they're ramping up operations to evacuate as many as 9,000 people a day.
The White House is still insisting that it will have all American forces out by the end of this month, despite the fierce criticism coming from all sides that the White House has botched the pullout from Afghanistan. Regardless, this conflict is far from over, and that means more refugees will be coming to Colorado. Now, since the beginning of the year, our state has resettled nearly 300 refugees, and more than half of those are from Afghanistan. That's according to the state's Department of Human Services.
Community organizations are always looking for donations and volunteers to help resettle refugees. 9 News reporter Victoria De Leon shares one way to help the families here, as well as those on their way.
At the Denver Rescue Mission, there's always room for more. More donations and more people like Sharuk Solomon.
I've been here 4 years. Yeah, and it's been an amazing journey.
He's the coordinator for the Family Refugee Services program, where the need for mentors is never in short supply.
Mentors are key in helping these families to navigate their new life here in U.S. The biggest challenge that I've seen is a lot of those refugee families, they do not have the right kind of friends who can help them navigate things. So they are trying to figure things out on their own.
With the possibility of more refugees arriving in Colorado, there will always be a need for people willing to help others settle into a new country with different social and cultural norms.
It's a big thing because they have seen a lot of trauma, and to help them cope with that and move forward, it is very important to have good friends who can walk alongside with them. And by friends, I mean mentors.
Beyond financial and material donations, human connections can go even further.
Having limited staff, it becomes a challenge, but with the help of volunteers, we can do a lot more than we are already doing.
Victoria De Leon, 9 News.
And you can find a link to the application to help mentor with the Denver Rescue Mission on our website. We also have links to other resettlement organizations that could use some help as well.
We turn now to the fight against COVID-19. The United States has now seen more than 37 million cases since the start of the pandemic. This according to an NBC News tally, which also says more than 626,000 people have died of COVID-19 since March of 2020. Both of those numbers continue to increase as COVID-19 numbers continue to surge nationwide. Some of those cases are inevitably breakthrough cases, those involving people who are vaccinated. That would now seem to include the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. Late this afternoon, we've learned that he has tested positive for COVID-19. Now, his office says the Republican is fully vaccinated and exhibiting no symptoms. And a third dose of the COVID-19 vaccine could be on the horizon. NBC News reporting health officials and medical experts are expected to recommend the COVID booster shots for most Americans. Of course, that would then apply to people who've already received that second dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. They'd be advised to get a third shot 8 months after they got that second shot. The guidance would not be applying to those who got the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And the doctors note the guidance continues to evolve to try to match the evolving state of the pandemic.
We're dealing with an illness that mankind has never seen before, and we're trying to figure it out as we move forward.
And in a separate program, we've talked about third doses are already being administered to those immunocompromised people in the United States. That followed last week's authorization by the FDA.
New evacuation orders were issued today for people living near Sacramento, California due to the CalFire. Officials say it started over the weekend and it exploded in the last few days. It more than doubled in size yesterday into today. At least 6,500 acres have burned. That's more than 10 square miles, and that includes some homes. So far, the fire is burning uncontained. Once again, we are dealing with smoke and haze over Denver. Kathy's in the Weather Center with our first look at the forecast. It was hot today as well.
You know what, you guys, we have big changes coming in, and the storm coming across the northern Rockies is not going to help out firefighters in Northern California, which is a shame because there's a lot of water with this storm. There's cooler air. Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado will see the benefits at the end of the week, but we're not seeing a shift in the pattern for California, and we really want to see that because some of the worst wildfires in that state's history going on right now. Let's talk about Colorado. We do have a little bit of haze over the city, and how about mid-90s again today? The record 98, so far 95 in Denver. The winds coming in out of the south, helping to scour out some of that pollution and some of the haze. We do have an air quality alert out for ozone today. Where you're seeing the areas of blue, that's where the smoke is the thinnest. We're still seeing a layer of wildfire smoke and haze over Denver, Greeley, and Fort Collins, but some improvement with the arrival of that storm I mentioned. That air quality alert today in effect for ozone, and we are watching the potential for some heavy rainstorms over Utah and portions of western Colorado. The one piece of good news, besides the fact we're going to see cooler, wetter weather, is the storm movement will be quicker. So yes, the burn scars, we'll be watching those very closely tomorrow with some of these heavy rainers coming off the mountains into Larimer County and Grand County. But the storm movement should be quicker, so that will be very beneficial instead of sitting and stalling and watching those grounds saturate over the next 2 days. Tonight, only isolated foothill storms. I don't know that Denver's going to see much. If we get a few sprinkles here tonight, that would be lovely. Another warm day tomorrow. Temperatures mid-90s today. We'll do that again tomorrow, but storms in the forecast tomorrow afternoon, and Thursday is the cool day with a good chance of rain. It could be heavy for some. We'll talk about all of that and what it means in terms of air quality heading into the weekend. I know you guys are ready to talk about the weekend because it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it is.
We started talking about it yesterday, but we're still talking about it. All right, Kathy. Thanks. We'll see you in a few minutes. Speaking of the weather, we're getting a first look at some of the damage left behind by Tropical Storm Fred. Now weakened down to a tropical depression, but it hit the Florida Panhandle late yesterday with heavy rain and some maximum sustained winds at 65 miles an hour. The video showing Port St. Joe, where an RV park was flooded and roads were underwater today. The threats of flooding and tornadoes continues inland, even though that storm has weakened. Haiti, of course, is struggling as well after the devastating earthquake that we now know to have killed nearly 2,000 people. The fear is that number will still rise. Relief efforts are underway, but they're facing some serious obstacles, including heavy rain from another tropical storm. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is in Port-au-Prince, where the U.S. Coast Guard is trying to help move supplies.
A massive international relief operation is underway here in Haiti after Tropical Storm Grace dumped heavy rain overnight in this country's southern peninsula, the same region that was heavily impacted, devastated over the weekend by this 7.2 magnitude quake. We saw some of the damage firsthand yesterday in Lacaille, Haiti, where a multi-story hotel had just collapsed, killing an untold number of people. We also saw a hospital completely overwhelmed, men, women, and children hooked up to IVs outside in makeshift beds in the hot sun. There was an overwhelming sense of desperation in parts of Haiti.
On the working frequency with Omni.
And now, international relief organizations are having a difficult time getting the supplies to some of the most heavily impacted regions because of treacherous roads, mudslides, also intensifying gang violence in some parts of this country. But the U.S. Coast Guard is on the ground, continuing its relief effort this morning, bringing relief supplies to places like Lacaille, but also evacuating some of those critically ill patients back here to Port-au-Prince. Back to you.